Uh-oh, something tells me you guys are broke.
Wow.
Let's talk about it and much, much more. Let's go.
Hola! It's your boy Big Rob back in the house. Welcome to Sin City Crypto, home of the entertainment-focused cryptocurrency content where we take old, boring, stale information, repackage that thing up in a fun and sexy way, throw some price predictions down at you as well. And well, what a day in crypto, or you know what a week in crypto. We've seen giant swings. We went from 74,000, I think it was, and up to 83, back down under 80,000. So a lot of volatility in the market. Michael Saylor says that it's chaos is Bitcoin's best feature. And well, we got a lot more as well. We do got David as well joining us. He's patching in from home. And then, hey, what's up, bro?
I made it.
Yay.
Ashley, that was such a messed up intro. It's like pouring salt on the wound,
Well, thought y'all should know. I don't know.
We're really not down. I mean, we're right at 80,000. So we're still right there at 79 too. So we're right there at 80,000 anyways.
Have you checked the stock market?
Stock market's getting pummeled right now, man. I woke up this morning. I saw the NASDAQ down heavy. Currently NASDAQ down over 5%. I'm actually kind of surprised once again that, Bitcoin is holding up where it is. You can see NASDAQ down 5.1%. And then you take a look, S&P 500 also down 4%. But just a big move in NASDAQ. And so, it's surprising because, one, we got a pretty favorable CPI number print today, or at least came in under expectations. And then, you just see the movement here on Bitcoin just right when the markets opened up today, just a big sell-off. And so, we did dip down all the way down at 78.7, 78.5. And so we're back up to 79. So I'm kind of curious to see how Wall Street closes the day. I think that if we make up some ground on the NASDAQ today, say we close at somewhere between 1% and 3%, I think that we could see a nice healthy rebound above 80,000 for Bitcoin. But I think a lot of people are just keeping a close eye there. I did want to say yesterday, guys, for a brief moment, Ethereum outperformed Bitcoin. So on the only 24-hour chart, you can see here that Ethereum for about 10 hours outperformed Bitcoin. So congratulations. So you gave that up pretty quickly as well. And then, but yeah, let's not forget on the 7-day, on the 1 month, on the 1 year, the blue line here, the one that's going down and to the right, that is Ethereum. They're trading against Bitcoin. So, but there was a glimmer of hope. It was 10-hour window that you could have made money holding ETH. So congratulations to you. But that time is gone.
Wow. You just can't go a show, huh?
I can't even go 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you mentioned the stock market and take a look at this. I'll go ahead and share my screen here. This was posted by the Kobe letter. So yesterday, I believe, was the largest single day move in the Dow Jones from a points perspective, almost 3,000 points in one trading session. Massive. And today, the NASDAQ 100's decline accelerates to 4.3% as the White House says tariffs on China are at 145%. The circuit breakers were about to go off. I don't think they did, but it would have been the first time since 2020 that any sort of circuit breaker went off. You also have on the tariff side that I think potentially could bring more volatility. You have China and the EU have begun negotiations to eliminate EU tariffs on Chinese electric vehicles. As the U.S. ramps up tariffs on China, the EU is attempting to reduce tariffs on China in an effort to build trade relations. Now, Robin, I don't know about you, but I can't help to think that Trump is going to see this. He's going to not like it. And we're going to see a flurry of retaliatory tweets and truths on his Truth Social post. which will give more uncertainty to the markets. And now here we are. We're not only fighting China, but we're fighting our allies in the EU. What the hell's going on? Are we going deeper? And so I'm kind of in the camp of there's still a lot of uncertainty. The 90-day pause yesterday, obviously the markets reacted fairly well, and so that was good. But there's still so much up in the air, and it's such a fast evolving kind of narrative and topic that I don't know. I think we're going to see these wild swings over the next 4 to 6 weeks. That's kind of my thoughts. What do you think?
Well, I mean, you had a 90-day pause. So, I mean, what happens at the end of the 90 days when it comes to the tariffs outside of China? And so, yeah, we might have a 2 to 3 month relief on that tariff narrative outside of China, but it's going to come back around. And we saw this before, right? When Donald Trump came out, he said, hey, we're going to put tariffs on Canada. We're going to put tariffs on Mexico. What ended up happening? Well, the market sold off. You saw Bitcoin dump. And then lo and behold, he came back 30 days later, or he said he's going to postpone. And then markets rebounded. But 30 days later, here we are back again. And then in come the tariffs. And so, you know, it's just a short-term relief there. I think the bigger headline discussion to have, though, is, you know, China. You know, I know the markets rallied yesterday, but China is our largest trade partner. 20% of imported goods come from one country alone. And, you know, the tech sector and also manufacturing is heavily dominated there. Also, we receive a lot of rare earth metals from China. And so it's going to be a supply strain or a strain on the supply chain here in the U.S. as far as manufacturing. So even if it is built in the U.S., if you're outsourcing materials for you know, electronics and its factory is here, still it's going to increase our prices. So I don't know.
You know,
man,
Rob,
obviously
everyone's talking about how China's retaliating with their own tariffs. No one's talking about how else they're retaliating. They are putting worse fortunes into cookies. As you can see, they're not all positive anymore. You will not go very far in your life. And so there's another war waging on the consumer front, not just with tariffs from China, but yeah, it's pretty bad. Yeah.
Well,
you didn't find that funny, huh? Interesting. Shocker. Robin finds nothing I put on there funny. Wow. I am so taken aback.
yes,
Everyone else
your
is
fortune
probably,
cookie joke was absolutely
everyone
stunning.
else is probably laughing behind
Who's
the screen.
everybody else?
And you're definitely laughing, Ashley, with your basic white girl drink. Rocco is pretty much laughing. I heard him in the background. And then everyone in the chat's laughing, except my
fear you're
co-host,
hearing
Robin. It's okay,
things.
Rob. I don't worry, Rob. I got you, bro.
Okay.
So here's a little update, okay? Here's a little update on kind of where the markets are. So there's a lot of people trying to figure out what the hell are we going to do? Are we going to get into the market? Are we going to stay? Are we going to leave? You know, we had Caleb Franzen on yesterday. Such a great guest, great insight. He said, look, I am selling the rip, not buying the dip. And so far, he's been on point. But this is from the co-basis letter. So the market is now realizing that we still have 10% baseline tariffs on all countries globally. Even though the pause for 90 days, there's still tariffs. It's just reduced to 10% in that 90-day grace period. 25% tariffs on automobile imports to the U.S., 25% tariffs on steel and aluminum tariffs, 25% tariffs on imports from Canada and Mexico. Looks like Canada and Mexico were not part of the 90-day pause. And I have a feeling that after, you know, I shared the news that the EU is trying to negotiate with China, I have a feeling that they also will not be included in the 90-day pause, but that remains to be seen. And then 145% tariffs on imports from China, which, by the way, the U.S. consumers make up, or we as a country make up around 15 to 20% of all Chinese exports. We are by far their biggest export or importer. And so there's pros and cons to both sides. China's going to hurt, but U.S. is going to hurt as well. This list does not include all retaliatory tariffs imposed on the U.S. The 90-day pause in reciprocal tariffs does not even temporarily end the trade war. The trade war is in full swing. And so a lot of indecision, Rob. Obviously, the Wall Street and the hedge funds and the big money managers, they're kind of up and down, right? Money in, money out. What's kind of your strategy moving forward over the next, let's say, 30 to 90 days, or really however long this tariff situation takes to unfold? What is your strategy to not only protect capital, but to try to make money as well?
I just don't see the tariff situation going away. I think that what we're seeing here is Donald Trump using it as a tool to barter, to negotiate, almost to pass threats, to get deals in his favor. And he understands that the economies globally are very dependent and reliable on trading with the U.S. for their own personal GDP, and so people will come to the table and negotiate. I just don't see China doing it. And so essentially what we're seeing here is almost a trade embargo between China and the US. Now, are they allowed to trade? Yeah. But at the same time, like at what point is it even at all profitable to transact or to sell to one another, right? If, you're selling a car as an example and you have 150% tariffs, then at this point, a $40,000 car is going to cost $100,000. And so I know China's not exporting cars to the US, but I'm just giving you, a large ticket item. But I mean, that goes for everything. If a toy costs, $10, now it's going to cost $25. And so it's just pricing trade out of the picture. So 20% of products coming in are not going to come from China. That's just the reality of it, as long as these prices are high. And so what we're seeing is just an end of trading and commerce between China and the US. And I don't see that changing anytime soon. It doesn't seem like China is bending, and Donald Trump has too much of an ego to let it go. So my perspective is it doesn't look good from that narrative. Now, you can sit here and say post-halving, for Bitcoin, supply and demand, nations are buying, Russia and China are transacting in Bitcoin, whatever it is, central banks. There's plenty of narratives, but from the tariff narrative, if you think that is going to suppress the market and hold Bitcoin from breaking new all-time highs, that's not going to change anytime soon, in my opinion, at least not with China, our largest trade partner. And then 90 days from now, we're back to the reciprocal tariffs. And then, as you mentioned, you still got a bunch of line items like cars and baseline 10%, doesn't bode well for our economy as far as prices. I know that the CPI, which is a lagging indicator, is showing that inflation is coming down, but I wouldn't be surprised if 3-4 months from now, the CPI is coming in at 4 or 5% again. And if we do get a rate cut, next when's the next Fed meeting? It's in the next 2 weeks or 3 weeks, right?
April 29th.
Yeah. So okay, so a little over a month. So I think that
Less than a month.
When that one hits, then you know what? You got probably the following one's not going to be a cut, even if we do get a cut this one. What do we got? 2.4. Yeah, 2.4. It was projected to come in at 2.5. This is the lowest we've seen it in quite some time. I forget the date that
Very long time.
Yeah, the headline date I think was 3 years or something like that. Was the last time we saw the CPI down to this. Remember, the target range is 2%, right. So we're at 2.4. So we're closer to 2% than we are 3% currently. So,
and your core is at 2.8. So that's usually what the Fed looks at, is the core and the PCE as well, core PCE. Yeah. But, I saw this. I was like, wow, that's pretty good, right? Inflation is moving down. Some people look at like trueflation. That is actually a lot lower. And then I look at the CME, and the numbers actually went down for a rate cut. This was 35.65, 35% rate cut, 65% we do nothing. And now it's gone the other way. And so now 70% believe there will be no rate cut, and 30% believe there will be a rate cut.
Yeah,
and so a little bit of a shift there.
You showed this earlier this week, and you were all bullish on a rate cuts. I'm like, look, man, I mean, the percentages are telling you that we're not getting a rate cut. The CME, which is rarely ever wrong, is telling you that it's more likely that we get a pause, or we're going to keep rates the same, and that there is a growing interest in perhaps a cut coming. But realistically, it's not likely. It is a smaller and smaller chance. And you see this here, and if you're the Fed and you know that inflation is going to be infected by the trade war, it's hard to make that argument, right? If 50% of the cars that are in the United States all of a sudden cost 25% more, it's hard to say inflation is not going to go up. Same thing with 20% of the products coming in to the US internationally come from China. And now all of those are off the table, essentially. It's hard to make an argument that inflation won't go up. And so if you raise rates now, or excuse me, cut rates now, then you know that inflation is coming around the corner. And I think that actually is making more of a case for a pause or keep where it is.
Let me ask you this question. Do you think that rate cuts are necessary for a kind of a narrative shift or a market structure shift? Because when you look across the board, all equities, all crypto, Bitcoin, pretty much everything on the higher time frames are all trading below their 200-day moving average, with the exception of a few, right, in the crypto market. Dow under 200-day moving average, NASDAQ, the Russell, the S&P, obviously Bitcoin, obviously Ethereum. And so a lot of people are kind of grasping and looking around and saying, what is going to shift the market sentiment? What is going to shift the structure of these equities and these assets? And a lot of people are pointing to the Fed. Caleb mentioned a credit crunch.
The Fed is not going to slash rates. Even if they do cut rates, it's going to be 0.25. And even then, you'll probably get a rate cut, then followed by a pause, and then perhaps another rate cut, another 0.25. This is not going to make Bitcoin skyrocket. You listed a list of assets. So current rate, what is it, 5.5? Where are we at right now?
4.25 to 4.5.
4.25 to 4.5. So you're dropping rates by 25 basis points is not going to make Bitcoin skyrocket. It's not. And so when we talk about the Fed and we talk about the price of Bitcoin and we talk about green candles, it's going to be off the back of a major slashing or a rate cut, which if the Fed is coming in and cutting rates dramatically, it's because something is broken, that the economy is in turmoil, that banks are going under. And if that even happens, you should see a short-term panic in risk on assets. It's, we saw it in 2008. We see it in risk on assets traditionally with regular stocks when you get the .com and whatever it is. They tend to be good entry positions, but usually it's a 2 to 3 month window. Even the COVID one was still a 3-month dip. Now, you had a very sharp decline during a certain 30-day window, but at the end of the day, it was still a very dramatic fall, and it still took some time to come back. And so I would just say nothing here is shaping up to have a big rebound from the side of the Fed. Now, I don't know about, like I said, there's other external factors that are a little bit different and are in play, the post-halving, the supply shock, nation states. But from the Fed, I don't think it's going to provide any fuel for Bitcoin. I really don't. It might be a little bit positive. If we get a 25 basis point rate cut, that's good. I'm not saying it's not, but if you're looking for that next move up, the next leg in the bull market, it's got to come from other external factors.
So this is what I have on the screen here is Bitcoin back to when it dipped during the pandemic, COVID. And so we saw Bitcoin originally draw down from open to wick low 57%. Okay, then we had a little bit of a spurt up from wick low to kind of the local high. It like 2x, 2.5x, and then it was chop. And then we had around 225 days essentially of chop, slow grind up until we finally saw that parabolic move to the upside where Bitcoin ran from 10,000 up to the first leg, which was 64. And so sounds like that's kind of what you're saying this is going to be a prolonged chop period to, if we kind of measure where we are now from when we had this dip, we're only at day number 45. And so
my kind of take there was just off of, you were saying, how is the Fed and the rate cuts going to influence the price of Bitcoin and risk on assets? And I'm just saying that I don't see any big moves or big cuts coming from the Fed and Jerome Powell And so for me, I don't really put that in the equation of what's going to fuel the next leg of the bull market. Now, I do think if you get a rate cut here at the end of the month, you get a rate cut, then at that point you can say like, hey, I think Bitcoin will rally. It'll turn bullish. I think we'll get back up to the higher 80s, maybe 90K. But for us to continue on and get that euphoric move that we're expecting in crypto, it's not going to be off the back of the Fed if they're just cutting rates every third meeting at 25 basis points. That's my whole point. But let's not forget, we have seen Bitcoin rally in the past off of, well, retail, off of big news. And you know what? You do got the US. I think what a lot of people have forgotten is that we do have the strategic reserve, and the US is probably positioning itself to buy Bitcoin. And I think that a lot of people have taken their eyes off of that target. And I think that maybe a headline like that, US buys 100,000 Bitcoin. And you know what? They moved their position from 220,000 Bitcoin to 320,000 Bitcoin. I think that's a big headline move. Then you follow that up with China's also buying Bitcoin. I think there's plenty of narratives that'll take us to the next leg up in the bull market. I just think that people are expecting the Fed to be the catalyst. And I don't think that's it. I don't think it is. Now, maybe the Fed does cut rates dramatically, but if that happens, I think we're having a different conversation, and it's not loosening monetary policy. I think it's saving the government from collapse, right? Or the economy from going under. I did want to.
So okay,
yeah. What's up?
So you think that slow rate cut is not going to do anything?
I think it's a positive for the market. I think it helps. I think it helps Bitcoin get closer to all-time highs. I think you get back in that 90K range. I still think that 100K is going to be a little difficult to cross. Maybe if nothing changes and all we have is the Fed cutting rates in the next, 2 out of the next 5 meetings, then sure we'll be over 100K, but it's going to take some time. But I think that if we go headline narratives that we've been talking about all year long, right? Where hey, the U.S. is positioning itself, companies are positioning themselves, retirement accounts, these narratives that we keep echoing, I think are going to be what's going to drive the market this time around, not so much the Fed. Fed is a key player, but I think there's more to it.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting. I just look at it as, although again, I'll kind of end with this. Although I agree that I don't think, minute rate cuts will help, but I think it'll signal to the market that, okay, because the people still look at Jerome Powell and the Fed and saying, look, these guys are kind of stuck in their way, right? They don't want to bend. They don't want to budge. Trump's over here asking the Supreme Court or whoever. I saw an article. He's like, can I fire this guy? So, will Jerome Powell capitulate? I think even a small hint of him capitulating will signal to the markets that maybe we're going to get some liquidity pumped into equities and people start front running maybe. But I agree. Don't get excited if you see a 75 basis point rate cut, because that means something major broke if that happens. And there's already speculation that there was rumors China was selling bonds, U.S. Treasuries. That's why the 2-year, the 5, the 10, and the 30-year were absolutely skyrocketing just yesterday and 2 days ago. But now we're seeing reports that it was actually Japan, which is the #1 holder of U.S. Treasuries, as their currency weakens. It's not good. People talk about the Japanese, the yen carry trade. That thing blew up last year, and you see what it did to the stock market in Japan. It absolutely destroyed it, and the Fed and the Central Bank of Japan had to step in. So I think there's a lot of macro uncertainties underlying the bigger move. And so I just tell people, proceed with caution. Don't get too high. Don't get too low. Just like I said yesterday on the morning stream and on the trading stream, I said, don't get too excited. So far, unless we clear some key levels, nothing really has changed. Don't get excited. Kind of stay level-headed. And but I'll send it back to you, Rob.
All right. Well, we did have some super chats here.
We do have some super chats. So I said for $1, I'll smack Rob upside the head. So we did get a few dollars. We got French Toaster, Crit Cats, Rusty Bot gave 10 I don't know what currency that is.
Norwegian.
Okay.
No.
And
Those
then
are
we
Nokia
also
phones.
just had a new member as well. Haven.
Haven
Pack.
Peck. Yeah.
Yeah. I think I got to smack you upside the head.
You ain't smacking nobody. You brought
Do
a
it.
friend
Do it hard.
today.
I did bring a friend today.
Yeah, who
Everybody
got in
say
studio
hello.
today?
This is Clarissa.
Hi, I'm Claire.
What up?
Yay,
Hey.
Clarissa.
You got any Bitcoin or what?
No,
No Bitcoin? Why not?
no, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
It's messed up.
Why don't you have any Bitcoin? I don't either, but why don't you have any?
Then you can't at me. Then you can't say anything.
I think Jimmy will probably send you some of these.
Okay, thanks, Jimmy.
Jimmy.
Yeah.
Jimmy's the channel's sugar daddy. So
Yes, we
where
love
is Jimmy? Is he here? Jimmy is here.
Yeah,
Jimmy,
there he
what's
is.
up,
He
Jimmy?
popped up, little
I'm
lurker.
extra twangy. You know, someone said that I'm a 60-year-old and a 23-year-old body, and I just don't know how to react to that.
60-year-old and a
Because it's true.
23-year-old body. All right.
I feel like that's kind of mean, no?
Yeah.
All right.
No, it means you're very mature.
There you go.
Yeah.
So what news we got today, David? What have you been scouring?
Rob, you weren't here yesterday, but so you obviously saw Trump's post, right?
Yeah.
Now's a good time to buy. And then 3 hours later, he paused the tariffs and the markets rallied. Now, I think he did that on purpose. I mean, obviously, right? Now there's talks and Congress wants to kind of look into it for insider trading. I would argue it's kind of outsider trading. He literally told everyone insider trading is usually when you keep it to yourself or tell some, close friends and family, Nancy Pelosi. But we're seeing what's happening in Argentina with Javier Milei and the Libra coin. That government, Congress is going after their president. You think Trump messed up here, trying to give us all a little in on how to make a little bit of money and kind of being the biggest KOL in the world? What do you think?
I mean, do you put any chance that comment was just poor timing and he didn't intend on
Hell
saying
no.
it? I mean, I don't believe it, but I'm just saying that, like, I'm trying to think of the other side. I'm trying to think perhaps like in a positive light that says that he's not being nefarious here, because I mean the reality of it is there's no way.
Come on, bro.
Yeah.
The dude knew what he was doing, bro. And it's just so funny because
but he's also said to buy before, and it's been down and to the right as far as prices.
that
And
was his
so
kid,
it's
not him.
Huh?
That was his kid. That was Eric Trump. Said,
No.
now's a good time to buy Ethereum.
No, he's
Thank me
talked
later.
about
We all
buying-
thanked him.
He's talked about buying his meme coin several times already, and those have been prior to a market sell-off. And so, are we in a situation where maybe the timing didn't align? But no.
He knew exactly what he was doing. Robin, it's the president of the United States. This is his policy. He's the one that's going to announce it. You think it's a coincidence that 2 hours before he announces, he says, now would be a good time to buy. And then 2 hours later, we're going to pause tariffs for 90 days, especially seeing what happened on Monday when there was rumors floating around of a 90-day pause and the market's absolutely crushed. They rallied. And so, I don't know. It's just very interesting.
I forgot about the rumor of the 90-day pause, and then they dismissed it. Be like, there's no 90-day pause. What are you talking about? That is all fake news. And then 2 days later, yeah, we're gonna do a 90-day pause. Like, guys,
You got caught, bro. Just admit it.
yeah.
It's just funny. I don't know. I just thought it was funny because, we talk about KOLs and, we're considered KOLs, like key opinion leaders. And people look at, others in our space who maybe have larger platforms that can influence crypto markets. And here you have the biggest KOL in the world, the president of the United States, essentially tipping everyone off to, hey, I'm about to do something bullish for the markets. Thought it was funny. I expect the Democrats and Congress to try to go after him for market manipulation or insider trading, whatever they want. So just one, it's funny. B, I think he kind of messed up here. I don't know who his legal counsel is, but it'll be interesting to see how that unfolds. But Rob, why don't we take a look at the markets? I'll pull up a couple charts. We'll go through, and then the question I asked you, I don't think you answered it when we were talking about I asked you, what is your strategy moving forward on the markets? How are you looking to not only save your capital and protect it, but also to make money along the way with so much uncertainty? So if you want to talk that through going over CoinMarketCap, feel free to do so. But I really want to get your take on how you're navigating, because I'm sure there's a lot of people sitting there and they're kind of lost. Like, what do I do? Do I pull my money out? Do I keep my money in? Do I buy the dip? Do I sell the rip? And so I'd love to get some thoughts from you.
The strategy I have is not far and off from what my typical strategy is for a bear market. And especially in maybe the later stages of the bear market, you don't really want to try to time the bottom. You don't want to try to find a good entry position as prices are collapsing, right? When we went from $63,000 Bitcoin and we shot all the way down to 17,000, you could have told yourself multiple occasions that, like, hey, this is a good time to buy. This is a great value. This is a great value. But if you didn't know where the price was going to end at eventually, if you didn't know, like, hey, you know what, the price of Bitcoin is going to get down to this number, which none of us knew, the best course of action, or the smartest thing to do here, and this is just kind of cycle over cycle over cycle, is to say, hey, let's see this kind of bottom out. Let's see where it lands and then consolidates. And we start to see the volatility subside and the markets just indicate that, hey, this is probably more or less the bottom. If not, it's near it. And so I think that we saw that when it was down to 20,000. We saw still a consolidation there at Bitcoin in 2022. And then at some point, it collapsed down even further, down to 17,000. But it wasn't far off. I'm sure nobody's kicking themselves like, man, you know what? I bought Bitcoin at 20,000 instead of 17. So anyways, the theory here, or at least my strategy, is wait for prices to become discounted. In a bear market, it's the bear market bottom. And then wait for it to consolidate just to validate the price, right? And over time validates price. If all of a sudden price of Bitcoin shoots up to 108,000, might not be the best time to buy, because you need to see, like, hey, will we validate the price? Will we trade there for a long period of time? If we do, if Bitcoin would have got to 108,000 and then it traded there for 6 months, and somebody asked me 6 months later, is this a good time to buy? I'd be like, yeah. You know what? The market tells you that they're willing to buy and sell Bitcoin at over 100,000. It's a great time. Now, you would ask me at the same time, when it did peak up to 108,000, is this a good time to buy? I would have probably told you, like, I don't know. I'd probably wait it out, give it a month or two, see where the price goes. If it's still at 108,000 2 months from now, maybe, yeah, I agree. Or maybe, do some kind of small DCA strategy. Basically, bear market, I'm buying alts, or I'm increasing my position on Bitcoin. So it's the same here. It's really no different. So for me, this is a pullback. 108,000 was the top. We're down over 30% now to the current prices from where we were at all-time highs. And so now the altcoins are getting smacked, right? Bitcoin dominance is through the roof. Numbers we haven't never seen before post-halving. And it's just an indication that if you believe in the altcoins, if you're not a Bitcoin maxi to the fullest, and you think that there's a space for altcoins, it's hard to make an argument that it's not a good time to buy altcoins. Just figure out which ones you believe are the winner, pick 2 or 3, spread out your buys so that way you're not fully exposed to one asset, and then ride those out. This is the easiest time to make money ever. And our theme for today was poor ? Well, if you're making dumb decisions and you're scared to pull the trigger, you're going to end up being broke. You're going to be poor. And if you wait to pull the trigger when you feel comfortable and prices are going up and your friends are telling you about it, you're going to lose money. That's just the reality of it. And so if you want to make money, now's the time. That's what I'm doing. So if you're asking what my strategy is here moving forward, is I go down the list of altcoins, because altcoins ain't going nowhere. Now, maybe the whole market doesn't rally, but altcoins ain't going nowhere. There is a place for that technology, and there are a lot of leaders here that I like. And so for me, what's undervalued, what's down the most, I'm buying it. What's undervalued the most right now is also Ethereum, but I'm not buying Ethereum's roadmap. But There's other assets out here.
What's undervalued the most? I'm buying Ethereum. I'm not buying. It's also undervalued the most. But hey, I think you were, Rob. I think you were so on point with what you said. It is so, and I've said it before, and we both have. It is so easy to make money. Maybe not like buy today and make money tomorrow, but buy today and make money in a year. Buy today and make money in 5 years. Buy today and make money in 10 years. It is so easy to do that. If you sat there and I told a savvy investor, hey guys, Amazon just 3 weeks ago was trading at $800. Now it's trading at $200 with no stock split. What do you think the reaction of those people would be? Would it be to run away? Would it be to be scared? Would it be to complain? No, they'd say, holy crap, this is a once in a generation opportunity. You have a company that is dominant in their field in retail, right? In consumer. And their stock is 60 to 70% on discount and nothing has changed. In fact, in market turmoil, its smaller competitors will fall and fail and Amazon's market share will actually grow. Now, replace Amazon with Bitcoin, replace Amazon with Avalanche, replace Amazon with Solana, replace Amazon with any solid project. And that is where we are now, is these projects. You look at a project like Avalanche, the partnerships it's making, the narratives it's driving, its market share in gaming, in RWA, and in layer ones, in developer activity. And if you believe that we're heading towards a world where everyone will be interacting with blockchain at some point, some you'll know, some you won't know. And if you believe that is happening, why are you not looking at the price of an Avalanche, the price of a Solana, the price of a Bitcoin, the price of really any other top project that is actually solving real world problems that translate to Web 2 to Web 3 bridging? Why are you not excited to buy those? I think a lot of it is people don't have the patience. They don't have the patience to buy something and watch it grow and mature over a 5 or a 10-year time period. Everyone wants it now. Well, I'm telling you guys, if you keep chasing the now, you'll end up paying for it later. If you buy now for the later, you'll be very well rewarded, whether it's for you, your kids, your mom, whoever your why is, you'll be doing them a great favor, because guess what? When we look back 5 years from now, we're going to be like, holy shit. Just like 5 years ago, we look at the price of Bitcoin and said, man, if I would have bought Bitcoin at $1,000, you're going to look back 5 years from now, man, if I would have bought a fucking Avalanche at $20, my God, if I would have bought Ethereum at $1,500, my God, if I would have bought Solana at $110, I'd be set. You're here now. Like, that's where we are. And so don't overthink it. It's easy to make money. Focus on the right things and have some patience. That would be my piece of advice.
Yeah, I think lately I've had a bearish mindset on the short-term price action, and I think it's going to be hard to convince me to take profits or to sell any of my assets. I just don't think it's the time. And with that said, I know a lot of people might have disdain for my perspective because they want price to go up, number to go up. But, I look at this as, there's an on and off switch, and it's buy, sell. And so for me, you have to be prepared to work in the dark when the lights are off, and also turn it on when everything's nice, bright and shiny, and, it's easy to work, right? It's easy to make money when the lights are on. You're at work and you're trying to operate. You got the lights turned on. It's easy. You see exactly what's going on. It's the same here with crypto and investing. You're saying like, hey, it's easy to make money when you've been exposed to the market for a long period of time, when you have experience, and crypto's at all-time highs. But at the same time, if you're not increasing your position at market lows, you're missing out on the swing. And so that's the way I operate. And so for me, I could give a damn less. I can't buy more. I can't increase my position if markets don't pull back. Market pullbacks are cute and small, short term, and markets are also pulling back in larger swings. We're post halving. I fully believe we're in a bull market, but don't miss out. Make some money, man. It's so fucking easy to make money right now. Like, if you're not making money in crypto and you're watching our show every day, you're one, either lazy, you're scared, or you just don't have any capital to invest. If you have no capital to invest, I would highly suggest figure out how to make more money. Do a side hustle, bring in more money, because you can only invest money that you have, right? If you're trying to 10x your position and all you got is $100, then well, all you're going to come out with is $1,000. Like so, increase your capital that you have, your net earnings. Don't be scared, right? You gotta have if you have enough experience in the market, you're going to know that like, hey, it's time to buy, it's time to sell, and then yeah, don't be no punk, man. Just get in there, make some money.
Also, just to your point, you said working in the dark. The one thing I'll say, do not, whatever you do, don't cook in the dark. I've tried it. Bad news. Would not suggest. 1 out of 10.
Why do I feel like you cooking in the dark is standing in your boxers in your kitchen, turning on the microwave? Like you're just like staring at the pizza rolls just spin.
It's the toaster, Robin. It's the toaster. Leave me alone. Anyways, I want to share one chart, Robin. If you want to queue up CoinMarketCap, we'll take a look at where the altcoins are. Obviously, we know where Bitcoin is, where the altcoins are. So this is Bitcoin dominance. You mentioned this, Robin. 63.37%. Our swing high was 64.33%. This is very unusual for what we've seen. And so we all joke about this time is different. Ha ha ha. Well, this time really is different. We'll see. But just like every analyst tells you, and it's not easy and it's not hard to decipher. You want alts to run, you need dominance to come down. And so I don't know. We keep seeing little. I don't really
take much away from that. This time is different, man, because it's always hindsight that you say that you make these comparisons, right? It wasn't until about halfway through 2021 that people started talking about the 4-year cycle. It really even wasn't a thing prior to that. There might have been a few people talking about it. And so 2017 was fundamentally different than 2021. 2013 was fundamentally different. Were there similarities? Were there some common numbers that were shared amongst them? Yeah. But I don't know, man. I think that this is such a new emerging class. We're onboarding not only just people now, but we're going nation states, companies, institutions. And so it's like, I don't expect this to follow any trajectory that we're outlining by YouTubers and Fox News. I think it's going to shock the markets. And I think that what people are expecting is not going to happen. That is exactly what the markets do generally. It's always when you have big market moves, it means that a majority of people are wrong. If you get a big move to the upside, it's always, well, the people were wrong, right? Because there was a lot of people taking short positions and thinking they were going to sell. If you get a big sell-off, it's the same thing, right? If prices collapse, you go from 100,000 down to 70,000. Well, there was a lot of people wrong about the current value of Bitcoin. They were assuming it was going to go to 120, 130, 140, and they bought and put their position in there, but they were wrong. Majority of the people were wrong, and that's why it reversed. And so I just wanted to throw that in there. I know you asked about altcoins here. Taking a look at what's down. You got Tezos, EOS, AAVE, Ethereum, Immutable X, Ondo, Toncoin, Uniswap. A lot of Ethereum networks connected projects here, right? I think, almost all of these got a connection to ETH, right? ETH's number 5 down at 9%, which if you got the second, I'm really not trying to beat a dead horse here, but ETH number 2 asset down in the top 5 here. I'm just saying that there is a current stigma with Ethereum, and it's not looking good. Now, maybe there's a reversal. Maybe ETH outperforms Bitcoin in the long term, but currently it is just losing so much steam against the rest of the market. And I think it's compounding, right? I think it's circling in on itself as a positive feedback loop, whatever you want to call it. People are more and more getting scared of entering in and investing and buying Ethereum. And I think that's why we're seeing the price collapse more and more, or at least seeing the divergence from Bitcoin. But Tezos has ETH compatibility. You got AAVE, also ETH DeFi. Immutable X, Ondo, Uniswap. You know, this is a lot of projects in the ETH ecosystem are on the down. What do you think about Ethereum? Let's not talk about it being dead, but just what do you think about the ecosystem? I will say I was surprised. I thought that the base layer like ETH was going to pull back, but I think a lot of their action has been moved. A lot of Ethereum's action has been moved to scaling solutions, which for me it's like, hey, you're cutting yourself, right? You're bleeding yourself out. You're promoting side chains and scaling solutions and Polygon and roll-ups, and you're actively telling everybody in your community, don't use Ethereum. Use scaling solutions that have their own coin. And essentially that's been kind of what I think has been causing the slow death of ETH. But now we're seeing even the ETH ecosystem go down as well. And so, I mean, what's your kind of take on ETH's ecosystem versus the market?
I mean, obviously, if ETH loses users as a whole, or maybe liquidity starts to dry up, then it'll affect the overall ecosystem of ETH. But you look at AAVE, AAVE's numbers are up. AAVE's thriving. That's an ETH play. You look at Ondo, maybe not from a price action standpoint, but Ondo, partnerships thriving. Ondo chain is coming. But look at now two of the top, I would say, recognizable protocols on ETH, Uniswap and Ondo. They're each now either in the process of or already going towards getting on their own chain. Unichain, Ondo chain. Unichain using the Uniswap token, Ondo chain using the Ondo token. And so is that going to be a trend we continue to see? But again, my thesis for ETH is institutions and RWA and institutional DeFi. And if that falls by the wayside, I'm out on ETH because I'm with you, Rob. I don't think retail is coming back to ETH
Let
like
me
they
ask
did
you
with
this.
Solana.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
If Ethereum Foundation and Vitalik is coming out and saying, hey, everybody, scaling solutions are here. It's a remedy to congestion and slow throughput. High fees. Use the scaling solutions. Promote them. They're great. You know what? Clap your hands. Scaling solutions. They're saying that to retail. Now, what happens when institutions are moving RWAs that have a large amount of transactions? To say we're tokenizing some kind of stock, maybe not the stock market, but let's just say maybe the CME or something. Maybe some kind of global trade, where you have a large amount of transactions that you need to process. Don't you think that Ethereum Foundation will try to influence that institution or that country or that market maker, whatever it is, to use the scaling solutions? Don't we kind of always circle back to Ethereum can't service demand? And so, okay, you're moving stocks, or say we're moving house deeds or something like that, car titles. Okay, cool. That makes a lot of sense as a ERC20. But when we're talking about high level of transactions, how on God's earth is a company going to give an okay for that? If you're buying and selling stocks and it's costing you $200 per transaction and you're processing hundreds of thousands of them, it's not a working business model. And then you're going to say, well, the scaling solutions is coming, but they keep delaying it. The whole damn project has been delayed from the onset. It took them 8 years to get staking. And their latest upgrade, what is it called now? That one's delayed as well.
Pectra,
delayed. No surprise. And so do you honestly believe that RWAs, given your narrative, you said of RWAs, you honestly believe that they can do some high throughput RWA transactions on ETH anytime soon?
Robin, I think as long as it settles on the ETH layer 1 and consumes ETH, I think that's all that matters to me, at least.
Let's give me a tokenized asset that is so finite that it only trades less than 100 a day. Now I can give you 1,000 of them that trade over 100 a day. And so that's what I'm saying is that, like, if you're going to tokenize something and it's going to be global and institution to the point to where it's going to make ETH skyrocket, You're going to say RWAs is here. It's going to be huge. Look how much money is being moved. Those markets are going to need throughput. And so if you're tokenizing, I don't know, a supply chain, how many freaking products are moving on there that need to be tracked? How many transactions per day? It's going to be an ungodly amount, or at least a lot more than ETH can handle. You mint a 10,000 JPEGs, 10,000 ERC20s. You mint those, and the whole network gets so congested you're paying $300 a transaction. And you're telling me you can barely process 10,000 transactions in a short period of time? Imagine trying to process global trade, e-commerce, the movement of money, a ledger that tracks small payments, like anything less than $100, like an ATM debit ledger. Like, there's no way it could be done on ETH. Not in this current situation. And that argument that it's going to be scalable later down the road, an upgrade, how long is that going to take? Next bull market?
Then let me ask you a question. Why do the institutions continue to build on Ethereum?
Because you build now, or you don't take a position on crypto. And if you
So
don't
you think they're making a mistake?
If you need a smart contract, if you don't pick Ethereum, if you're playing with hundreds of millions of dollars, who on earth are you going to trust it? You got ETH, you got Solana, you got Bitcoin. If you're responsible for a company, a public traded company, you have other people's money, you can't put it anywhere else. Let's be real. Not institutional grade, hundreds of millions of dollars, potentially billions of dollars. You cannot invest it into a small cap altcoin. And the reality of it is ETH, Bitcoin, Solana are the only ones that institutions can get exposure to. Even when Bitcoin was at sub 50K, institutions couldn't buy Bitcoin because it was too small of an asset. Or, hedge funds or, sovereign wealth funds, things like that. They couldn't get exposure to it because it was too small. Now, it's a larger asset. And so you can't, as much as I love Cardano, you can't tokenize real world assets on Cardano from BlackRock. It's just not possible. At least not to get any kind of real world use case. You got to build it out slowly. And so right now, it's just a lack of options that have a large enough market cap for a company to heavily invest in. And these other projects are new. I mean, you go outside of XRP, ETH, and Bitcoin. Down here, what has been around for a long enough time that you would feel comfortable putting in $100 million? If you're investing, if you're investing customer funds and to a tune of $100 million, where do you park that money and you feel comfortable? Is not a lot. I love all these projects. I mean, maybe you can make an argument for Chainlink, but even then, it's a tiny asset. It's only $7 billion market cap. I mean, it's a good investment for me, you, and a traditional trader, but not for the big money. And so when you talk about RWAs, it's just a lack of options. And even Solana is not even here on the top 5. Look at that. So you got Bitcoin and ETH. So they're just getting in where they can. They're getting in where they fit in. ETH, buy now, build out the crypto sector, move it later. That's what we've seen with NFTs. That's what we've seen with retail. You get on, you get your MetaMask account, you do an ERC20 swap, and then you know what? You graduate. You put your big boy pants on, and you get a Phantom wallet. That's what institutions are doing. They're starting with ETH. They probably bought Bitcoin first. They're like, hey, we got crypto. Okay, now, cool. You want to do some smart contracts? Okay, let's buy some ETH. Let's build something. All right, cool. Well, this shit sucks. It's slow. No throughput. Where can we go now? It's a natural progression.
I'm sorry. I'm looking at a possible trade setup on Bitcoin. This is on the 21, well, and the 15 and the 30-minute too, but on the 21-minute it looks really good. This is a bear flag pattern here on ETH. And so we're at the top end of that range. So I'm queuing up a potential short. This thing will break to the downside unless a big tweet comes in or whatever. But you see that expanding volatility we saw from from yesterday's move, and you see these moving averages start to bind and get tight. And then we had a massive spill off, and then we had that blood diamond on market side for A also. But I expect this thing to come back down, retest the bottom of this range, the bottom of this, the flag portion of this bear flag, and then eventually break to the downside. And the downside target for me is going to be around 77.8. 77.7 to 77.8 should be a really nice short setup here for BTC. Don't want to enter yet. You know, yesterday on the trading show, we ended up trading we did an AVAX long. We were looking for a breakout of a bullish pennant and actually went against us. And that ended up being a losing trade. And so for me, you can already see a retracement from that wick high just perfectly touched the top end of this range. We're starting to see a little bit of a pullback from around 79.758 to 79.6. We want to see what price does here at the bottom. I know we'll kind of miss out on a little bit of the percentage gains, but we'll be in a more confident trade. And so come back, at least retest the low here at around 79.185. See what it does at this trend line. If we do get a break, we either see what volume looks like, see what market AVAVE is telling us, maybe even on the lower time frames. If we don't get a clear kind of view of the market, Bitcoin continuing to go down, we want to wait for a failed retest and then we enter, or we get another bounce back up here. If we get another bounce back up here, I'd be interested in shorting that as well. And so just a trade setup to keep an eye on, looking for a move back down at this end here, see what price does, and if it breaks below, wait for a retest and maybe enter into a short.
All right. Well, I did want to give a little shout out to our sponsor today, Legacy Network and the Legacy Academy app, and their newly launched LGCT token, which I was talking to Ashley earlier. She's, I think, 2x'd her position on the Legacy Network and the LGCT token. And so if you haven't downloaded the app, go check it out. Personal growth and development, fun games, earn while you play, and, well, big fans of Legacy Network here, so go check them out. Link in the description. All right, I think that what do you got going on over there, Ashley? Anything else? Any insight here?
No, not a lot.
No,
I got nothing. Why are you laughing?
No, not a lot.
I've been chit-chatting.
The way you said it, you're like, no, not a lot. You know, it's just a little bit.
See, both of y'all over here flirting today up in the chat.
No, flirting.
Yeah.
No, Clarissa's my driver. That's why I brought it. Was bring your friend to work day today. Yeah.
Show and tell, huh?
Uber driver.
Maybe tomorrow I'll bring my bird Larry.
Oh, God.
Please, for the love of God, don't.
All right. Well,
He's
that's
very
going to do it
loud.
for today's show. I wanted to give a big thank you to all of you that joined today. Big thank you to Legacy Network. Big thank you to Rocco on the ones and twos. Rocket Rocco. And yeah, thanks
Rocco
to
the
Clarissa
Rocket.
for showing up as well. And with that said, you wanna do a tornado thing or something, or what are we doing?
No, David.
Come on,
go ahead.
Ashley. I'm counting on you. You're in my
just
seat.
did
You
it.
took my
I
intro.
Can't do it.
You took my intro. Fine. Rocco.
Roll the credits.
Tornado side here, babe. Roll the credits.
Waiting.
Is it going?
No,
Oh, okay. Sorry.
it doesn't count. You're
Tornado.
a caller. You're from outside, so you don't, your tornado
Oh,
doesn't
he's
work.
waiting for you, Ashley.
It's
Ashley,
actually
the
go
longer
for it,
we
please.
wait.
I'm
It's
not.
the elbow drop. Let's go.
Okay.
Rocco.
Go for it.
What the hell was that?
It's an elbow
Okay,
drop, man.
I'll go.
Play the music.
Let's go.
All right.
Thank you
well,
all so much
thanks
for
again
tuning
for tuning
in. We
in.
appreciate.
Yay, everybody. We're all here. Okay.
We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place.
Yeehaw.
Big things coming.
Bye.
Go.
Crypto. Everybody know we here for entertainment and info. Gonna show you how to get that big dough. So every day stay tapped in for big facts, no capping. With Bitcoin, if you're in, then you win. We divide the pie with no fraction. It's Big Rob, David. I spit the game, but they gave it. Name the coin that's your favorite. I got dry powder, why save it? To the OGs, new beginners. Special shout out to the well members. Buy the dip, sell winners. Ain't really nothing you can tell sinners. Tune in for the latest new flavors. They gonna teach us mean coins. They polarizing like barbecue chicken pizzas. I laugh with a major grin. Laggers, we trade them in. Baddies, they came to sin. And sinners gon' play to win.